Hey, good morning.
Hi, Ronan.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How about you?
Very good. All is well.
Where's others?
Sorry?
Where are other people? Oh, okay,
Here they
there.
are.
Yeah.
I just saw the document you sent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing this week.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi guys. So let's start. Last week I was reviewing Yinxin's PR to ping the messenger to a given CPU core, and also reviewing Xuehan's support to pass the PG log down to the PG backend. And meanwhile, I'm working on the own node B-tree implementation based on DMS transaction interface. Yeah, yes, that's me. And I also realized that it would be beneficial if we can use the top-down approach to do the split and merge, because if we do the traditional way to maintain the B tree, we would need to go all the way up when we find a leaf node and realize we need to do the split and merge. I will start with the traditional way, which is used by our B-tree implementation, used by existing OSD, and later on I will try to investigate the top-down approach used
Why
by
would you need to go all the way to the top?
Sorry?
Why would you need to go all the way to the top?
Because
it's exactly the same. The constraints are done the same way. The only difference is whether you do the splits before you consider the children or after. And it slightly changes the constraints. But one way, if you're referring to the fact that you change references from the parents, that's true either way.
Probably I could share you with a working progress branch, so we can have a more.
Well, actually, if you're drawing a diagram, might actually be easier.
Sure.
From that point of view. I mean, we're still so early in the interface level that I have so little faith in my current transaction manager.h that I'm not as worried about that. But drawing a diagram of how you're planning to do it might clarify it.
Okay, cool. But I think the interface is pretty much enough for implementation.
Yeah, provided that it's possible to implement. Yes. From the other side. Anyway, that's okay. I'm just saying drawing a diagram might make it easier. My suspicion is that you're slightly off about whether or not. So changes always propagate all the way to the root, right? Unless it's possible to mutate one of the earlier blocks. And yes. Above the transaction manager.h layer, you actually can. You're allowed to mutate one of those blocks. That's permitted.
Yes,
That's the
indeed.
point of that interface. So it seems to
I
me
think
that
it's
that's the
familiar.
same whether you do the splits going down or whether you do them going back up.
I think the difference only is existing in the B-tree implementation itself. It has nothing to do with the transaction layer.
No, what I mean is I think it's this you will end up modifying the same blocks with the slight difference that if you do the splits on the way down, typically there's a difference of 1 in the constraint you maintain.
Yes, the end result is quite identical, but I think the difference is that
It does make
if we
locking
go,
easier if you're worried about locking. The
yes,
top-down approach is
that's the
easier.
point. Yes, so
But
we
I
don't need to.
suggest that you shouldn't do locking at all. You should use the transaction layer to do it. The transaction layer will tell you if you're sending down an inconsistent transaction. So don't do it a second time. In other words, if 2 different transactions modify the same block, they're going to get 2 different versions, and only one of them's going to win. The other one's going to get a restart.
Okay, so since we have a transaction, we don't need to worry about the order, and we don't. It's quite
So that's
identical. Even we go to top between top down or bottom up approach.
now, to be clear, I actually think it's easier to implement the top-down version. It's just cleaner, but that's just my opinion, and it doesn't change in this. Since you're not going to do explicit locking, I don't think. And again, this is the part I'm worried about. This thing I'm describing to you right now, the subsystem where the transactions are rejected if they conflict, that's the part that may end up being above the transaction manager layer. I think it's easier to do below it, so that's what I'm doing right now. But that's my biggest piece of uncertainty. That's the piece I'm working on right now. I'm working on the layer responsible for working out whether transactions conflict.
Okay, so it makes sense to me at the first glance. So yeah.
Okay, I was just saying I don't think there's a difference except for a few things. Like it doesn't really change which blocks have to change. That's all.
Yes, I agree with that, and yes. Anyway,
Except
I
just
will
to
go
keep it
with the bottom-up approach because it's easier to follow, and I will
Fair enough.
go to the top-down because it's the code is more simpler than the bottom-up approach. Okay, I think you have convinced me.
Well, I mean, whatever ends up being easier. I've never actually written a functioning B tree, so your guess is as good as mine. I'm working on one right now.
Sure. May.
Hi, Kafu. I have reported the dummy atomic issue in the email, and so what's your opinions now?
And you take a look at it in my inbox and get back to you.
Yeah. So I think that is 2 questions here. One is that for the atomic dummy atomic, but BlueStar should use the real standard atomic in our opinion, right? So if we keep the different atomic in Crimson and BlueStar, we have to add more namespace because that is defined in the header file, and it's built under the Crimson with C star, not under with Alien, not built in the Alien BlueStar.
A .cc file will include either the
both sides need that .cc file. It seems multiple .cc file. So if we do that, we have to add more namespace and build the double binary in both sides. So I don't think it's a better way for the Alien BlueStar. It makes the code mess.
Probably another hacky way is to introduce different include guard based on the with C star and with Alien and without them. What do you think?
You have to build the .cc file in two sides.
I mean,
this won't work. This won't work because, well, this would work in case of perfect inlineability. But compiler could decide that some parts of the buffer library implementation are not inlined, are turned into symbols, symbols in same statistical library. and Crimson and alienized Bluestar at the moment makes some implicit assumptions that there on its dependencies that they are the same in both Crimson plain world, let's say, and the Crimson alien world. And okay, that way we minimize the number of changes with top namespace. True. But the downside of it is that we have some kind of implicit hidden inventory of the dependencies that I satisfied by pulling symbols from the Crimson Plain world.
Can I make
I'm
a
afraid
statement
that
about what the actual problem is? Just so you guys can clarify it for me. Is the problem that buffer list depends or does not depend on Ceph atomic?
yes,
Okay, so is it the case that currently those two versions of buffer list have the same name?
yes,
Okay, that's a problem. There are two different data structures with entirely different symbols, or at least they should be.
yes.
But you're going to have to namespace buffer list. Sorry, that's the way it goes. It's part of the public interface.
And we won't
between,
fix.
and you're going to have to actually convert when you move between.
Yep.
When
Top
you pass
namespace won't work here.
when you
Really.
pass a Crimson buffer list through to Alien Bluestar, you're going to have to actually change the type. If you're clever, you can make it so you adopt the buffers and you don't actually
yes.
copy them. But that will require code that knows
okay,
both at the same time.
That's about the boundary issue. Actually, we would have two problems here. One is the need for differentiated symbols. Second one, that is
that's solved by namespace.
secondary one is the boundary line. Is switching between the types and the boundary on the.
It's just
alien,
writing code that
alien
explicitly
adapter.
references both types and reaches into them and makes the changes needed. That's possible. Tedious, but possible.
Yes, of course. It's
You have to
possible.
remember that at that point they are distinct types.
Yeah.
They happen to be implemented in the same file, but they are not the same type. I don't think there's any way to avoid this. You can't most of the things Bufferlist depends on have two different versions. Right?
I would be pretty fine with switching back to STD Atomic, but I'm afraid that the problem is actually a symptom of something bigger, something broader. The way how we do the alien adapter.
It's not. It's that every type
adapter.
that gets passed. No, there's a simple way to express this. Every type that gets passed between them either has to be converted or it has to be identical, with no if-defs different. I think that's the whole. That's the whole.
Identical, yes, but in contrast to things like libbluestar, you have no automated way to judge whether a thing
Yeah, I know.
is,
It'll be super manual. That's just the way it goes.
Yes.
I don't think there's an automatic way to do this. We just have to be super careful about all of the interface objects that are exposed between Crimson and Bluestar, and just be super careful.
Yeah, but the simple way is
I
just to
bet
use the standard atomic. So
But
we
Yeah,
can
I think
say-
Radek is saying this
it's
won't necessarily be the only such problem.
I think
okay, that would be fine in
sample zero
for
is
development.
convincing. I think Sam, what you say makes sense. We'll probably find, if we don't go this way, we'll find other problems in.
That's okay. What I'm actually arguing is I don't think there's a clever way to avoid that. So we should just accept that that's
Okay.
true and go start fixing them. So in this
Yeah,
case, for
Blue
Bluestar,
Star.
that either means namespacing it and adding a converter, or changing it back so that buffer list is identical between Crimson and the OST, and Alien. I think those are our two options.
And in this case, it seems that the best of the two is to namespace it.
That's the hardest way. It would be technically optimal
Yeah.
in some senses. I would argue for today, for now,
Also,
until we actually have we even have we even benchmarked it with that change? How big a difference is it?
from performance, I don't expect any big win. I'm afraid more about the maintainability issue. We actually
so
broken
I'm saying
the shared nothing principle, and Alien Store affected entire Crimson.
Yes, I understand. There will be such compromises for now. That will be true as long as
for development.
I would be more worried about it if there were a measurable real difference. If all we did was just kinda change something and it didn't really matter, I'm not as worried about it. See what I mean? In other words, we currently don't have a backing disk. We currently don't have a backing disk store, so I feel like that's a pretty urgent problem.
Well, I will be fine if we claim that Alien Store is not production grade.
None of this is production grade, Radical. We don't have a functioning prototype yet because we can't even write the disk.
Yes, but we will have, and then somebody will ask whether even before the developing even before the system is ready, we will ask, do you have persistent store? What will be our answer? Yes.
The answer will be absolutely all of this will be unsupported. Absolutely no part of this is supported by anyone.
I think another alternative is to have another build like the Crimson with Blue Store build, and the Crimson with Sandstorm or Sea Store build.
I think that's all true.
Build with
yes,
but the long-term choice won't have Alien Store in it anyway. The long-term choice will have an actual modified Crimson that has Blue Store under it, right? If we need Blue Store at all. So I don't think we should hold up the prototype store just because it's not production grade, because it's not meant to be, right?
Guys, let's downgrade alienized Blue Store development only for development, never even not for performance testing, and disable it it by default. Then we can differentiate in the Ceph atomic basing on with Blue Store or not. The simplest solution.
I mean, I don't know that it matters, but sure, if that's easy, go for it. What I'm saying is we shouldn't block this for this. Like, we need an on-disk store. We need it to develop recovery and testing. Like, we need an on-disk store. No one's going to use this for production forever.
That will be that. I'm not sure about the last statement, but definitely agree for now. It's not production.
Well, add a big fat banner when Crimson starts up that says we definitely don't guarantee anything about this. Like, that would be a fair statement at this point for all of it, not just Alien. Like, if that's what we're worried about, then we should be worried about that for all of it, not just this little thing.
Okay, even if somebody in the future would want to perceive alienized Blue Store as some kind of production-ready solution, we could actually turn the manual symbol versioning into automatic one. Lib Blue Store.
Radic, we're never going to support this in production. I'm telling you.
It's never going to happen. I hope so, but I'm not sure that that's the statement is true. Josh has a very different opinion on that.
Does he? Okay, I'll talk with him about it tomorrow. You're right. If we were going to do this for reals, then yeah, a lot would have to be different.
Okay. And if
I don't think we should.
Maybe we can postpone. We don't. The most beautiful thing is that we can postpone the decision.
Yeah,
just
I know,
like
with I'm saying it's not merely that we can, it's that we should.
And mapping.
Yeah, I'm saying we should, because it's stopping us from developing things that matter.
So,
I agree.
So if it's not a long support Alien Store, can we just make it simple and with the macro definition, if with C star and with blue star use the standard atomic? If
Yep.
not blue star, then
No,
go to
I
the
think you
dummy.
should go the other direction and just remove all of the FDEFs from buffer list. Make it the same as regular. Make it the same as Alien.
But it will change the existing Ceph OSD files. I don't want to touch that files.
No. I mean, no. The other direction. Make it so that Crimson uses the same buffer list as everything else.
Yeah, just use the same buffer list and make the Alien Blue Star and Crimson use the standard atomic. That
Yeah,
will work.
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. So just add.
If it's a real performance cost, then we'll talk about that. But it doesn't sound like it is.
Okay.
It sounds theoretical to me.
Okay, so with Blue Star, go use the
Around
standard.
2%.
Pardon?
Well,
From
that's
profiling,
not
it's worth maybe 3%, no more, not more.
Well, that's not nothing. We could go back and fix it afterwards, or we could add the FDEF so that it just you have the option to compile without it. Those are all fine with me.
Well,
I
we
just
can
don't think we
very
should spend
easily.
very long on it.
Okay, Sam, we can very easily, by one-liner patch, we can very easily differentiate Ceph atomic.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Plain ref counting for Crimson without alienized Blue Star, which will be the default build. Otherwise, Ceph atomic would use STD atomic. That would
That also
also
works.
satisfy the hidden dependency of alienized Blue Star.
Yeah, that's all fine. Just whatever we do, we shouldn't. I don't think we should spend a lot of time trying to figure out the production problem.
Agreed.
That's all.
Agreed. We definitely don't want to switch entire Ceph to top namespace colon buffer list. It will be it's no go.
Okay, sure. Okay, so I will clean the release to the master branch and apply the patch. So please review it and hope it will merge as soon as possible. And another question is that I only found OST not equal to 1. I got this reference counter issue. So I guess maybe it's some problem. I still need to do more debug on it to make sure it not the Crimson OSD logic issue. Do you understand me? Only OSD not equal to 1 has the reference counter issue.
My guess, my very long shot is that in case of more than one OSD, with the replication which holds the buffer pointers a bit more than just the transaction in local object stores.
Yeah, the Crimson code is pretty careful about not copying buffer lists, except when it literally wants to make a copy. And with replication, you do actually have to make a copy, right? You copy it into 2 different messages and also into the transaction. So, yeah, I can see that. It wouldn't surprise me that much. I'm a little surprised we did that good a job of squashing all copies, but, not that shocked.
Okay, so that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jermaine. Great deck.
Last week, I was focused mostly on pack hunting in classical OSD, especially around the OSD map issue, and also in Messenger. Apart from that, I was reworking the watch Notif. I think it got merged. Thanks. This week I was reviewing a couple of things, especially the alien adapter for Blue Star. Now I'm switching to the recovery stuff. That's me.
Ronan, how's it going?
Hi, everybody. What I did most of the week, I had limited time doing Crimson, but what I did was going over code for scrubbing, related to scrubbing, trying to understand and writing comments inside the code. I probably I won't push those comments, but maybe later on I'll ask you, or I'll ask the team to review if I got things right. And more or less that's most of what I did. I did add a minor patch to Sistar that was accepted related to Clang, but other than that, I don't think anything else. And Stan, thank you for the answers to questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't miss any. Did I? Were there more? Feel free to
Sorry?
add more. Feel free to add more. I love that sort of thing, especially if it turns into
I will. I will. I'm doing it through writing, reading the code and understanding it, using
Okay.
videos, the walkthroughs, and probably I will have more questions and publish it to the whole team. Two more comments. One is that I don't know if you noticed, Sistar had a lot of patches regarding the very low level code in future regarding the implementation of futures and some utilities, and regarding the destruction, I think, of futures. So you might want to take a look and see if anything there is important to us. And the last comment is that I just got Inching document, and it might be a good idea to go over it for Inching to present it in the meeting.
Yeah, hi, Ronan. Do you have a link of your questions about
About
what you asked to Samuel with
I can.
about OSDs?
It was it was just the beginning, and I wasn't very proud of the things that I don't know about the OSD, but I can share it.
I felt they were pretty good
think,
questions.
yeah,
they're questions I pretty often get.
Mm-hmm. I'm also very new to OSD logics.
The thing is, a lot of the things are confusing, not because you need to be smart, it's because random history happened, and sometimes we forgot things and then made mistakes. It's confusing because it's
in a large code.
In other words, mistakes were made.
Yeah, I know. I had to explain large bodies of code to others, and many times I had to explain. Yeah, this is just for history reasons. Doesn't make sense. Yeah. Okay, I will send a link today. And that's it, I think.
Cool.
For me.
I would also appreciate having the link.
Yeah, of course, everybody. Too.
Hey, Sam.
Yep, I'm still working the Petri logic and now the cache and transaction logic to handle transactions. For the PG log code, I thought maybe we should talk about the performance impact. So this is unfortunately kind of what we probably figured would happen. The details of exactly how the PG log entries are encoded turns out to be pretty inefficient in classic OSD, and the build bot noticed. My proposal is that we ignore it and take it as a parallel task to figure out how to do that less badly. Keeping in mind that this code does something that the Crimson flatly does not do at the moment, and that is essential to Rados. That is shipping log entries between OSDs. It's like not optional. Nothing else will work. Period. Ever. It's like the backbone of the Rados protocol.
So you mean we cannot? It's something we cannot optimize it if we
oh no, we can totally optimize the crap out of it. The way it currently works is clearly very inefficient, but it will be real work. It's not going to be some minor changes to the code. It's probably going to be abandoning the EncDec machinery for encoding the entries in the first place and doing something less wildly costly. I don't know what the answer will be. I suspect it will be hard, and I don't want to hold up this patch on it. Not hard, but I don't think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to require changes to the Rados protocol. I mean, literally the wire protocol for sending the messages, which will cause a compatibility problem, which is fine. That's not a big deal.
Rados.
I'm sorry?
So
it's not a core problem with Rados. It's a problem with how we're encoding the log entries when we put them into the message. So it's, I think, enough work that I don't want to hold up this patch. If we want to, we could add a config option to disable it, just so that we can make it easy to figure out whether, when we do fix it, we have fixed it well. That'll give us a baseline to test against to figure out how much CPU we're wasting on this operation. But even that, I think we can wait on. In other words, this is so important, I don't think we can afford to wait to merge it. I think we need to merge it as soon as everyone's happy with the implementation, because you can't implement any of the rest of recovery without it.
I think we have more than one reason to assume that we will fix all on wire protocols.
Oh, I mean, this needs to be fixed in classic OSD too, to be perfectly honest. Like, this exact code also runs in classic OSD, and it's costing the same amount of CPU there. So we do need to fix this. I just don't think we should block the patch on it. Is that what you meant, Ron? And this, you're right, this won't be the only wire protocol thing where this is true.
I believe we will change the wire protocol sooner or later because the one-to-one mapping of the messenger.
That's not actually what. That's not. This is a different layer of the wire protocol. So there's the messenger internal protocol that describes how the handshakes work and how the sessions are set up. That's the messenger layer. This is actually the message layer.
Under the.
This is the binary contents of the MOSD app message. It's of the MOSD rep op. It changed names at some point. I can't remember what it's called. It's the rep op message. Yes, the exact way we're choosing to encode the log entries is inefficient. And actually, we're encoding the log entries the same way when we write it to the object store. So we're wasting it twice. So yeah.
So the optimization is...
We're going to want to spend some effort figuring out how we can do this better, but I don't think we should block the patch.
Yeah, and the optimization here is extremely soundy because it will be not Crimson specific. If we could optimize it in Crimson, like the classical OSD will benefit from it as well.
Yeah,
it has it's double win.
Yeah, it's beyond the scope, and we want to be working in recovery in parallel. I think it'll also make benchmarks, if I'm being honest, more honest. Because right now we're getting benchmarks results that omit apparently a big wad of CPU.
On the other hand, it affects mostly writes where we already have a lot of issues because of reading from sister socket.
Okay, sure, but it's another
I agree.
Whatever 30%. I fully agree. So I think it's true whether that's true or not. They're sort of completely orthogonal, right?
Depends on chunk size. For 4K, okay.
No. What I mean is, fixing that will not change the extent to which this is a problem, and vice versa. They are both a problem independently. On different workloads, one or the other will be a bigger problem, but fixing one will not help the other. They are both independently a problem.
Yes, orthogonal.
Anyway, so that's my pitch. I think we shouldn't hold the patch.
I think it's close.
And it looks ready, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so. It looked good to me.
Same here.
I mean, except for the thread local thing. That was weird. But other than
that. It's already been fixed.
Coolio.
Jehan.
Oh, you're here. Sorry.
Yeah. Last week I was mostly modifying my Crimson Preslog PR, and I did some profiling of the Crimson OSD, and I think the major performance bottleneck is at the pairing states append log method, and I tend to agree with you guys about that. This might need some fundamental change about the way we do data serialization.
Yep.
yesterday I did some unit test for the pglogs write log and missing method, and here's the result. And I think the most significant issue about the way we do the encode and decode now is that we encode every single field of a structure or class. Yep. And that means even if we use the built-in memory copy method, which inline the memory copy operation for small data copies, but we still have to make multiple function calls to do that memory copy. So I think maybe for now we can do something to make the performance better. We can group the fields that are of the same type together in a structure and encode those fields once and for all, not encode every single one of them. Do you think this is?
I think that's a great project, but I think it's not as important as getting recovery working. See what I mean?
You think recovery is more important to work
drastically, massively, like not even close, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, okay. I got your point.
See, right now we don't even have a functioning OSD, really. We can't actually write data or recover from failures, which makes us not a very good distributed storage system.
Okay.
This is a sort of a well-contained problem that we can solve. And there are other ways to do it too. We can make it so the pglog structure itself can be directly encoded. See, the pglog structure is incredibly complicated because it supports a bunch of fields that are utterly irrelevant from normal writes.
Yeah. Yes,
so one strategy would be to just pick out the exact pieces of information that are required for, let's say, a 4K RBD write, and make it so that if that's what's being sent down, you just encode a dead simple version of that via direct memcopy. So I think there are drastic solutions to this problem that will work super well, but we can address them at our leisure. I think we should focus on the recovery thing first, though.
Okay, I get your point. I'll continue.
Other people may disagree.
But I agree with Sam. John, if you get a chance, probably you can find it as an issue or
yes, absolutely,
or task, so we can track it later whenever, because this task is pretty much self-contained and it's very well defined, so we can track it using the Kanban or tracker ticket.
Yeah,
whatever.
And to be clear, it's like a 30% performance hit. There are not a lot of things we could do to free up more performance before fixing this. So as performance things go, this is really urgent, just not quite as urgent as recovery.
Not only self-contained, it's the most interesting thing is that it's shared with the same in classical OSD. And a lot of folks wanted actually to solve the issue there, like Mark Nelson. So if somebody would do that, we would benefit for free.
Mark Nelson's version of this problem is much, much more general. With BlueStore, it's really, really expensive writing log entries, regardless of how you encode them, because of how RocksDB deals with them. So that's actually, it's related, certainly. But even just fixing the encoding on Classic would be a huge win. So yes.
So maybe let's throw the idea on perf weekly. Maybe somebody would fix for classical OSD, and we could just cherry picking for Crimson.
Yeah, that would be fine with me. So, and like I said, this is important. I just don't think it's
free developers.
What's up? Oh, free developers, yes. Best kind.
Yep, free developers are the best developers.
Yeah, I just shared a link to summarize my current findings about our network stack. I think it would be good to reason why we might need both stacks, the POSIX and the native, and we need to be aware of issues if we want to support both of them. And I hope we are in the same page on this. And I'm still working on the performance evaluation part. I think it will be close. I will publish the data and finish this document as soon as possible. That's all for me. I hope you can put your comments on this doc. Thank you.
All right, I'll have a look.
Right. I think, have you ever take the RDMA into consideration while you are evaluating different approaches?
I think RDMA will be very different implementations, and because current C* doesn't support RDMA, so I think it will be a less priority things currently. So I didn't consider it right now.
What about things like RDMA gluing underneath DPDK? There were some ideas, some talks related to it. Do you have any info on that?
No, I don't have any opinions or knowledge
Okay, thanks.
about that. Okay, I will check the link. Thank you.
Any other things? Okay, see you next week. Have a good one.
Right.
Later.
See you.
Thank you. See you.
See you.